When are you allowed to start doing your workouts?
I'll start on Friday.
Okay. And
Yeah.
how many is there?
There's 6. So it's 2
Is it the
Friday.
same format? Like you have to have a deadline for each pair, is it?
Yeah. So it's like 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. But Sundays is like a part A and B, 5 and 6 are one after the other.
Okay.
And then you have, it's like the previous indie semi-finals where you have to have a password. So to make sure that you do them within the submission window.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not like is it the same as quarters then where you can say, oh fuck it, I'll do Sundays, Friday, and then can you do that now?
Yeah, you can do them anytime you want, but you just have to have like workout 1 and 2 in by Friday.
Okay.
So like I'd probably do them maybe Thursday if they were out earlier, but sure they wouldn't. It's like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or something by the time you can on Thursday evening.
They didn't change the. Well, I suppose they changed it a bit. It's a bit better than it was, but
Yeah.
not a whole heap better. Okay, and you know do you know them now? No, do you know them now? Do you know some of them now?
They released them all on Friday night.
Okay.
Yeah, so I spent the weekend testing them out.
Where would I find that now?
They put it up on Instagram and Facebook. Probably got lost in all the
semi-final stuff.
Yeah. So and they obviously sent us an email as well. So
okay.
Yeah, all the like the scorecards and the standards.
Oh, hang on.
All that sort of stuff.
Now, can I share? I share screen. These are the 2 monitors. Okay, let's just see what happens. Hang on. Fuck's sake. I've never done this before.
Yeah. It's okay, I don't know.
Okay. Can you see that?
There's something yes.
Oh wow. This is cool.
I can.
Okay. So workout 1, 500-meter row, then 30 bench press, then 1,000-meter row, then 20 bench press, then 2,000-meter row, then 10 bench press. And it's the same weight? Yeah.
Yes. It's 56 kilos.
Okay, what's that relative for you? Like, is that fine? 30?
Yeah. Like I tested it out at the weekend and it was okay. So
okay.
But I wouldn't bench a whole lot. In CrossFit, sort of before I did CrossFit, when I was doing PT and stuff, I would have done a lot of benching. So I guess there's still a little bit, and then like obviously you have all the accessory work and all that sort of stuff. So.
Let's pretend Tim Paulson's talking to you there when he says "Let's rage."
Yeah.
1 legless rope climb, 6 farmer carries. 8 rounds. Fucking hell. Okay. 2 24 kilo kettlebells. Oh, that's the men's, is it? 2.
No, that's
224. I never know which of those symbols is a man and which is a woman.
I know.
25, 15 foot. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Christ.
That was a fun
one. 10 snatches, weight 1, rest 1 minute. 10 snatches, weight 2, rest 1 minute. 10 snatches, weight 3, and then max reps. What's weight 4?
So 75.
Fucking hell. Did you do that one?
Well, I sort of like 75 is my max.
Okay.
So it's like, will I get it or not?
And is this the same for all age groups?
Those weights are the same from 35 to 49, I think, and then I think after 49, it goes down a little bit.
And is it less for the teenagers?
I'd say so. I didn't even look at the teenage weights. But for us, it's like 38, and then 56, 65, 75.
Okay.
So.
And is there 2 scores in that then? Time cap 10 minutes. Do you get a score? No. You're just buying as much time as you can basically on the end.
Yeah. So there's a tie break on that one.
You're already down to 7 minutes.
Yeah,
like because of the rest. Okay.
So I did a similar one to this a couple of weeks ago in training.
Okay.
But with like less weight.
Okay. In 12 minutes, complete 50 GHD sit-ups, 8 handstand walks, 50 GHD sit-ups, 8 handstand walks, max rep bar muscle-ups in the time remaining.
Mm-hmm.
How are you at handstand walks?
Oh, my handstand walks are fine. Like
8 handstand walks. That's you walk out 25 feet, turn around. That's one.
Yeah, so 25 foot is one handstand.
Okay.
So it's 8 times.
And okay, GHDs. Have you got a GHD? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We got one. Like we had one in the gym, but we got like a proper one, like last year because when I qualified for the age groups as well. Like so.
Starting every 2 minutes until the reps cannot be completed in the interval. 5 wall ball shots. Add 5. Also like death by wall balls.
Yeah. So you start at 25.
Oh, sorry, there's a 2 there.
Yeah.
I was like, 5 wall balls. I was like, this is going to be a long workout if you only have to do 5 in 2 minutes. Okay. 25 wall balls, so it's going to be 25, 30. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Workout 6 begins immediately following the 2-minute interval, and workout 6 is 1 rep max. Oh, God. Clean and jerk. Time starts immediately following the final 2-minute interval. Did you do the wall ball one? No. There's no point doing that, really, is there? Did you?
I did, yeah. It's not very pleasant.
How far up did you get?
I can't pretend you that now, Peter.
What day is this? Is Sunday? Okay, yeah. Okay,
yeah, it's not a Sunday. So, but like it's a 10-foot target as well. It's not a 9-foot target.
Oh,
so it makes it good.
So you like kind of jumping a little bit.
Oh, a big bit.
Okay, wow.
Yeah,
I feel like we need to take a minute there to appreciate me sharing my screen. I've never done that before, so that's exciting.
That was awesome. First, I think.
Yeah, I feel like Savan or something there, and he has a production crew, so it's different. Okay, so then
roll it there, Roisin.
So you have okay, so you got 6 workouts over 3 days. What do you work at?
I work for a supermarket.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a manager in a supermarket. So.
Okay, so you can, yeah. Do you do the roster?
No, my manager does.
Okay. And what are they like with this? Like, do people that you work with know what you do? Do they know like that this weekend is a big weekend, or like, is it kind of like, is it easy to get time off for it? Like,
yeah, like I just use holiday, like annual leave. So for competitions or anything like this, they know, but they don't really like care.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they don't really like know what CrossFit is. Do you know yourself? Like it's, I try to explain to them and whatever. But like,
and you don't want to be that person that's like, she never shuts up about her fucking competitions.
Yeah. There was like my area manager and stuff. He's into fitness and stuff. He used to be in the army, so he sort of gets it a bit more.
Yeah.
But a lot of them just, they're not really into fitness and sports or whatever like that, are the usual.
They just, they probably gain some kind of understanding when you're like carrying all the boxes down the middle aisle, lunging, and everyone else.
I know, it's funny because like customers to be like, when I'm pulling pallets and stuff or lifting things, they're like, "Oh, should you be lifting that?" And the guys are like, "She's stronger than us."
Yeah, that's good.
The customers are actually quite good. Like a lot of them, because I've worked there for a good few years now, so I know all the customers, and like I actually forget who I do tell them what to, and they're always asking me like, "Oh, when's your next competition?" and how are you getting on and stuff. So that's nice.
Do you have to be kind of picky then about what you do? Because obviously, I know you're in America. Where was that? Austin, was it? The Masters Fitness Collective. Where was that?
Oh, San Diego. San
Diego.
The Legend Masters.
Yeah. And then you're in, so obviously you need time off like this weekend or for, like, do you have to kind of plan, like, do you plan out your year, like, because obviously you only have so many holiday days you can take. So do you time out your year based on what you hope will happen, like say in this part of the season? And then do you have a plan B, or do you just are you less structured than that? Are you just like, oh, I'll just see what happens and then I'll take time off accordingly?
Yeah, generally, like my boss is very good. So, like for these quarterfinals, for the Open and all that, I planned it all in because I was like, this is the dates I want, and I'm like trying to be positive and be like, it's set. In January I gave me dates for like the Open, the quarterfinals, semi-finals, all that sort of stuff. And then with competitions, like our road is usually done about 3 weeks in advance. So when I have competitions and that, I just like sort of say to him, and like I haven't had an issue so far getting time off. So so I've been lucky.
Have you booked off like 10 days in August, end of July, start of August?
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
But then if I don't need them, I can change them. Like they're not like rigid holidays, whatever. So
because it'd be nothing worse than if, God forbid, you don't qualify and you're just having to sit at home with your thoughts for 10 days. That'd be awful. It's like, sorry, Amanda, you booked the time off, so you're just gonna have to sit and stare at the wall. You're just gonna have to sit at home and contemplate those semi-final workouts, whatever. That won't happen though. Do you do is most of your training done? It obviously has to fit around work. Then is it shift work then that you do?
Yeah, it is. Okay. So
is it one of the German supermarkets then? One of the.
It is, yeah.
Okay, right. So then they're open. So they open like, what is it, 8 till 9 or 8 till 9:30?
8 till 10, yeah.
Okay. And how much of that day do you have to work generally when you're working?
I do 39 hours a week ish.
So what do you work a day?
Right. So it depends. Like some days I could work 10 or 11 hours, and other days I could work 8 or 9 hours.
Jeez. So. And do you train on those days? You're working 10 and 11 hours.
Yeah. Okay. I train 6 days a week. So.
And do you like vary it between mornings and evenings, or do you tend to prefer like after work or before work, or how does that work?
Well, if I'm on a morning shift, I start depending on the day, between 4:30 and 5:30.
Okay, so evenings.
So evenings, yeah. And then if I'm working a late shift, like I maybe start work maybe around 12 or 1 p.m.
Yeah.
And then I'll train in the morning. So I usually sort of try and get up to the gym about 7:30, 8. Train however long it takes. Make sure I'm home by like 11:30 anyway to get showered and changed and have something to eat before I go to work. So.
Yeah, because I suppose even if the shop closes at 9 or whatever, sure, I assume you're there for a while after anyway, like cashing up and whatever. So it's not as if you're just like, okay, that's
you don't go until everything's done.
And is that have you done both together all the time? Like when you started CrossFit, were you working in that role? Do you know what I mean? Like, has it always been together?
Yeah. So when I first started working for them, I used to have to do 48 hours a week. So and they changed that, I think probably about 3 years ago now. They changed it to 39 hours a week, which made a big difference for I felt a big difference in recovery, because you're getting a bit of extra sleep or you're getting a bit of extra time outside of work rather than, doing 11, 12 hours, like 5 days a week, which is quite tough. And then they changed that. And then it was actually around that time that I started getting serious about CrossFit as well.
Yeah.
Doing saying I wanted to compete and I wanted to do it properly. So it sort of coincided quite well because obviously 9 hours less than work a week is a big
difference. You started. Your first open was 2018. Is that the first year that you started? Like, did you start say just the winter before that, or when did you start?
Yes, it was the April before that. So I had started and I was doing, just drop-ins. I wasn't like a full-time, or not a full-time CrossFitter, but a full, like mad about CrossFit. So I was all like, no, I was doing like PTing with my personal trainer and stuff. And I was all like, no, I can't be doing that. Like I go to Emma and, I do my training with her, and I was training with a friend. And then the friend I was training with, she went on holidays for a month. And then I was like, oh, sure, while she's away, I'll just do CrossFit for the month, because I would have done drop-ins maybe twice a week or something like that, because I wanted to learn how to do a muscle up. And, the usual. And then I started, and then at the time, Neil, my coach, was running Capital Games in Dublin.
Oh,
yeah. And he was all like, well, do you want to do it? And I was all like, okay. So I ended up doing that, and then that was me hooked.
How had you seen CrossFit, or how did you know? Because most people start CrossFit and then find out what a ring muscle up is, rather than how did that happen?
So my cousin in America, Emma and Gavin. So they've done CrossFit, and they were trying to get me to do it. And I was all like, see, I used to do gymnastics when I was growing up. So I was all like looking at CrossFit saying, oh, CrossFit is stupid. Like, because they're so used to being so rigid with gymnastics and stuff. So I felt like, oh, that's stupid. I'm not doing CrossFit. So I went over, I think this is hilarious when I think about it. I went over to stay with them for a couple of weeks in the summer. And they were like, are you going to come and do CrossFit with us? I was like, no. So I went and did the classes with Emma's mum, like, just normal fitness classes, because I was like, oh, I'm not doing CrossFit. Yeah. And then the following April, then they came and visited Ireland, and they were like, oh, we want to do CrossFit while we're here. Can you sort something out for us? So I was all like, oh, you know what? I'll just hop in with your class, right? So I didn't know with CrossFit that you're supposed to do like an introduction or an on-ramp or anything like that. So it was actually my sister's friend was in DSC at the time, and she's all like said to Neil about the guys coming up, and I was like, oh, okay, if I come up, and he's like, yeah, just come up, because I had done fitness and like been to the gym and stuff like that. So Emma and Gavin did the class, and then Neil spent a bit more time with me, because I think it was back squats and stuff. So he's just seeing how I was at back squats.
Yeah.
I could do them, but it wasn't like a proper, below parallel back squat or anything like that.
That's fair. And had you when you were doing PT and stuff before that, was that for we'll go back a bit further. So when you were doing gymnastics, what age were you when you were doing? Is that like proper kid gymnastics?
Oh yeah, I did gymnastics when I was about 5 till I think it was about 18 when I stopped properly.
Wow, okay, that's a lot longer than normal, is it?
Yeah, I used to I was competitive and stuff. I competed for Ireland as well. So.
Oh wow, where?
Yeah.
Where was that?
I was over in Turkey. That was my first competition. That was cool. I done some in Scotland and Wales.
And what was your like speciality? What was your job?
I enjoyed the A bars the most.
That's the one where it goes up, down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my favorite piece. I was more of a powerful gymnast than an artistic gymnast. Let's just say.
Yeah. Okay. And do you ever like fuck around now? Like, would you ever hop up in the bar and do something like? Would you ever jump from like one bar to another bar in the gym just to freak Neil out or anything like that? Or
no, because I'd be afraid to hurt myself.
And how come you stopped at 18 then?
I just well, first of all, I was training on my own for a while because my coaches had a family, so they had sort of given up for a while because they had 3 young babies. And then the girls I was training with sort of just faded away because of that. And then I got a job. So.
And were you in the Sports Ireland structure? Were you part of that? Is
that wasn't around back then.
Okay.
Gymnastics in Ireland has come on so much in the last 15, 20 years. It's just totally different to what it was when I was doing gymnastics. Yeah.
Is it frustrating looking at that? Looking at the systems that are in place now and thinking that if that was around, what could I have done? Does that ever enter your head?
Yeah, cause sometimes we talk about that with my friends that I did gymnastics with, and if we had that system back then, or even the knowledge that they have now compared to what we had 20 odd years ago, 30 years ago, it'd have been totally different. But
yeah,
such is life.
So you finished that at 18 and then started working, and what was that after that? Was it kind of Globo Gym kind of PTing for that all that period of time, or did you find it again later on?
I found it again later on. I was very lazy in my 20s, Peter.
Yeah, that's fair. And when you found it again, was it for was there a competitive itch, or was it just aesthetics, or was it just something to do, or what got you back in?
It was just to find something to do. I was sick of not doing anything because I've always been real competitive and real active and stuff. And then when you I met someone and whatever, he wasn't really into sports or anything like that, and things just sort of go by the lay-by and stuff. And then when I probably hit my 30s, I was like, oh, screw this, I need to sort my life out again, like, and just started getting back into the gym.
Yeah.
And that I was living up in Belfast at the time, and I just went to a local gym, and it was sort of like, it wasn't a CrossFit gym, it was like a boxing gym. The guy, it was Brian McGee, he was a world champion boxer, and then when he retired, he opened, his own gym and stuff. So it was real. It wasn't boxer size, it was proper boxing, but you weren't sparring. Do you know that way? You were actually learning how to box, and I met some really nice people there, and I really enjoyed it. And then I only left there because I moved back to Dublin. And then when I moved back to Dublin, my friend then was like, well, do some PTing with me. And that's when I started going to like a personal trainer and that.
Yeah. When you were you in Belfast for work as well? Was that a job that you were up there for?
No, I moved for a boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Move back for a job.
Yeah.
Move for a boy and move back for money. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so when you joined your CrossFit gym, was there a conversation had, like, where people, like, was anybody saying to you, like, you could be properly good at this, or was it a gradual realization, or did you was it just that competitiveness coming back out and it just sort of developed, or was there can you remember a moment where you were like, oh, actually I probably could do all right at this?
Yeah, there was when I was just doing the drop-ins at the time, and like there's a couple of the guys in the gym, and I was like, you should come and do CrossFit properly, like you're really good at it. Because like, one of the first days I went, like the first couple of classes I went in, it was like handstand push-ups, and he was like, can you do handstand push-ups? And I was like, yeah. So I did them, but I did it like facing the wall, like we did in gymnastics. And he's like, okay, but try it like this. And then I was doing it, and then, I was going every week, whatever, once or twice a week. And then the guys were like, you should really think about doing it properly. I was like, no, it's fine. Just once a week is fine. And then it was actually when I did the Capital Games, that was the very first competition I did. And that reignited my like love for competitiveness and stuff. And we were in Masters, like, and I came third with the girl D that I was competing with, and then I was just like, I love this. This is what I want to do. Because even just in the class environment as well, you can be so competitive with yourself, not even about with anyone else, but like, you can try and beat your score, get higher weights, and all that sort of stuff. So,
and do you have training partners? Do you train with people? Do you train with people regularly? Do you kind of mix up what you do? Because I know, like, some people train alone, like they just do, their own stuff, and they don't. Then other people want to train with people who are better or stronger at one thing or another. Like, do you look at it that way, or do you just is it like, are you able to gauge yourself off yourself, and maybe you don't need that?
Well, I mostly train on my own purely because of work and my schedule and work. So I have to, because I have to train whenever I'm not working, basically. And it's hard, like, even because I work weekends, it's hard to try and organise stuff. Like, I have to know in advance. Like, when I went up and did the hybrid training day up in Belfast there a couple of months ago, like, it was only just so happened that I was actually off work that day. So I was just like, oh, right, that's great. Because I actually do love going training with people. There a couple of months ago there as well, I went up to Limavady and trained with Michael Walsh.
Yeah.
As well, because like I got to know him when we went to San Diego, like, properly, like, that way.
Yeah.
And like, I just, like, I'd love to train with people more, but it's just hard with work and just the way my shifts are, and having to work weekends is a pain in this sport.
There's quite a competitive group in your gym, though, isn't there? Like Jeff and a few others there go there, don't they?
Oh yeah, see, it's been hard because Jeff, like, had a baby there. I think she's a year and a half, maybe 2, and then he went back to college last year as well. So he's been, like, hasn't really been training as much because
he's like living his life backwards, isn't he? That all seems backwards.
I know.
He's like, he's doing Benjamin Button, but like not with his age, just with like the things that he's doing.
I know. So like before that, like, we would have obviously trained a lot more together. Like obviously now he has family and college and stuff like that, so it's hard to get in. We still try and get sessions in when we can.
Yeah.
But like, if we're going to be competing together this summer, we'll definitely get more because he's finished college now. So we're going to try and get a few more sessions in, because it's also good to have someone to push you, because we're both good at different stuff. Like I push him in the gymnastic side of stuff, and then he'll push me in the cardio side of stuff, because I'm trying to keep up with him and not keep him behind. And he's the same with the gymnastic side of things that way. Like, so it's really bad.
And outside of work then, like your, say, like everyday friends, maybe not the gymnastics ones, because I feel like they might get it a bit, but like do your other friends get what you do? Because like it's kind of, I kind of feel like the average person, like say late 20s, early 30s, it's, you know, like, oh, I go to the gym and I'm competitive and I do competitions or whatever. It's kind of, I just feel like within that age cohort, it's kind of like, oh yeah, cool, or like, you know, okay, great, I don't care, or whatever. But like, I feel like the older you get, the more like abnormal it is for people, or the harder it is for people to understand like what you're doing and why. Because I kind of feel like there's historically, like the trajectory is you go beyond like your mid-30s and you slow down and you start complaining about being stiff and tired and sore. And like, I know you probably are complaining about being stiff and tired and sore, but it's from use rather than lack of use. Like, do your friends outside of the gym and outside of, say, the gymnastics group, do they like understand why you do what you do, or do they, like, how much, like, do you just kind of not bother going into it, or are like, have you got a supportive group, do you think?
My friends are supportive in that, but they don't get why I do what I do. Do you know what I mean? Because just because they're not in that environment, you know. So it's like, I'm like, I can't, you know. Obviously, I miss social events. I don't really drink as much anymore. Even like when we have family events, like now my sisters are all like, "Oh, Amanda, are you driving or are you drinking?" And like, mostly I'm driving because I have competitions coming up, you know, and I just
I'm sure they remind you that as well. They're like, "Oh, you're performing really well lately. You keep it up now. Listen, I'm going to town there on Saturday. You wouldn't drop me in and collect me."
Yeah. So anytime, but it's mad, because anytime we have a family event, it's always around one of my big competitions, and I'm just like, fuck's sake, like, I'm like, come on, like, we don't have something when there's nothing going on.
It's almost like it's planned. Do you ever wish that you started earlier?
Yeah, all the time. I'm like, why didn't I start a couple of years beforehand? Like, I just think. Sorry, go ahead.
Is that because you think you'd be better now, or is it because you would have wanted to have tested yourself, say, in the open category, like in the not age group category?
Yeah, I think I'd actually be better, you know, because I'd been a few years, you know, more under my belt, and sort of, I don't know, I just, like, I actually really enjoy doing it, and, you know, as we all do, we love bloody CrossFit. I just, I'm like, why did I waste that, like, 2 years that Emma and Gavin were trying to get me to do CrossFit, and we're like, no, it's stupid, I wouldn't be doing that, like, it's crazy, like. But then I also, on the flip side, I think if I did start earlier, would I be a bit burned out by now? Do you know what I mean? Because I think if I had started, I wouldn't have had the same mindset as what I had as when I started when I was a bit older. Because I think I know more what I want now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas if I had started when I was in, you know, say even my early 30s, whatever, I might have been, you know, more into the socializing and going out and all that side of stuff, and not being like, oh, I'll just not go training. Whereas now I'm like, no, I can't, because I have training. Do you know what I mean?
Like, you probably just get better at balance. I suppose, obviously there are mature people in their 20s and 30s, but like, I suppose the older you get, the more kind of cop on you have of like, you know what sacrifices you need to be made, and they probably stop feeling like sacrifices, you know, because it's like just because you have so much life lived that makes it sound like you're really old, but like, you know, you've had all the experiences at this point that say people in their early 30s are still experiencing or are about to experience. You've kind of gone through all those bits. So now you maybe don't feel as shit, like missing out on certain things, or it's not as arduous a thing to be like, oh, I won't go to that wedding, because you've probably been to so many. It's like, it'll just be the same as all the others. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas if you're in that group in your late 20s when everyone's getting married, then it's different. Whereas if you're in your, like, if you're in the age group categories, it's probably a bit easier to be like, that's fine, I don't mind missing out on that because I've done it 10 times already. Do you know?
Yeah, because I think as well, from doing gymnastics as well, I would have not gone to a lot of stuff as well, because I was training and I was trying to compete. So I think, like, I have a bit of that mindset, but then that sort of went when I was in my 20s. Like, the whole, I socializing all the time, like went traveling, did all that sort of stuff. So I think because I've experienced all that and did that now I'm back to that, well, I want to compete, so this is what I have to do to compete. And, I'm not doing too bad so far.
You've sown your wild oats, and now you're
yeah. It's like you're ready to settle down again.
Ready to settle back into competitive life. Yeah, it's great. So the competition in San Diego, then, is that the biggest you've done to date, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like, for, like, because it was just a masters competition as well, it was brilliant, because like everyone was looked after so well. You weren't just
a sideshow.
Sometimes the masters are just, off to the side, but because it was just masters, it was like everyone was there for the same thing, and then everyone was there to support everyone else, and and then, like, you were competing against people from America, whatever, that I had never competed against before. I'd only started competing against like some people in Europe, and then you also got to know more people as well. So then now I sort of know some of the girls I'm against in the semi-finals as well, so it's cool that way as well.
It's a big trip to make, was there any kind of, because obviously it's different if you're say in the open category, and you mentioned there that it's, masters are often a sideshow or a by the way, the age group categories, but like the one of the consequences of that then is like sponsorship is harder to come by, and like support is harder to come by in that kind of respect. So like going to San Diego, like, was that like, say, your version of like a holiday for that year? Was that your like trip of like, oh, I'll do it, but I'll center it around this?
Well, San Diego's a bit different, because we had qualified for that through Filthy 150 the previous year, when they done the lockdown
12
competition.
The
12 days of Filthy, So when I saw that, I was like straight on to Rebecca. I didn't even really know Rebecca at the time, and I was just like, Rebecca, do you want to put a team together and do this comp? Because I think we've a good chance of winning, and the trip is, or the prize is a trip to the Legends, like, and she's all like, yeah. So we got Vicky on the team, and then we had asked Tom Dunphy to be on the team, but he was like 6 months too young, so he couldn't be on. So Alan Burnell then was on the team, and then he got injured, so he couldn't do it. And then, like, it was like last minute, so Rebecca knew this guy Rob Walker from competitions. He's Welsh, so she asked him to do it, like, to do it. So, and he did it, and then we ended up winning. So the prize for that was money towards, I think it was like €2,000, like, towards flights for the team. It was an individual comp. But I didn't know at the time, because Rebecca was like, she had organised the entry fee, so the team captain, but so the money had to be transferred to sterling. So we lost. Do you know what I mean? Some of it. And then I was like, if we had known, like, we could have organised it to go into my bank account, because
and then just never see them ever again. Just disappear. Send them a picture from San Diego.
Yeah. And then, so we had some money towards the flight. I think I probably had to pay like £200 towards the flight for San Diego.
Yeah, okay. That's not bad.
Then we had entry into the competition as well, which was just about $300, like, as well. So that was paid for. But everything else I had to pay for myself, like, so.
And is it hard then when you do something like that, when you go to a competition like that, and not to just want to do that all the time? Like, not because I know, like, say they've got that one, then the Masters Fitness Collective's in like October, I think, or something, isn't it? Like, are you tempted by other ones?
Like I'd love to, because actually after that I did Wadapalooza in January as well. So I had to like pay for that as well myself. So that was all paid for by myself. Like, so
Yeah.
I just like, I knew San Diego was coming up, so I started saving for that anyway.
Yeah.
And then Wadapalooza, that came about, and I just didn't spend any money. Now, in fairness, because of lockdown and all that, I had money saved up because I worked the whole way through, so you know it was fine. And then you couldn't spend your money, so you were saving it all. So I had like some money saved, like, so.
And like, was Wadapalooza, does that live up to what you hoped it would be? Because obviously you kind of get, like, I'm just curious, when you go to an event that's only for Masters, and then you go to an event that is like for everyone, but like there's a big spotlight on the elite categories. Like, is it any way disappointing, or is it like, does it matter at all when you're there?
No, because I competed elite.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, we did team, like, so.
Of course, yeah.
So that was a different kettle of fish altogether. That was.
How did you find that compared to solo?
It was brilliant, actually. I actually really enjoyed competing because there's not as much pressure. Like, because when I went to San Diego, like, I obviously put pressure on myself as well because I wanted the podium.
Yeah.
So like there was a lot of pressure on, whereas Wadapalooza was just, we were going to have fun and enjoy the experience and experience like an elite competition. So it was like totally different because like you're just like the first day, like you're just looking around in the warm-up area and you're just like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm competing against these guys. Like, do you know what I mean?
And who was crazy on your team?
So it was Zoe Kerr. She's from the north, yeah, and Oren O'Neill as well.
And how did that come about?
Zoe messaged me. So we had both competed at Powerful. And we got to know each other at Powerful, and then she messaged me on Instagram and she thought, like, do you want to go try do team for Wadapalooza?
She was, and I was like, Louis, was it, at Powerful?
Yeah, at Powerful, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's cool.
And I was like, hell yeah, of course. And then we had got another girl to do it, but then she was injured, so she couldn't do it. And then so we asked Oren to jump in with us again, like last minute as well.
Yeah.
So Oren was like, yeah, for sure. And yeah, we did it and we qualified. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so you come back and you do the Open, and then you do quarterfinals. What do you think of the new system? Like, are you enjoying the fact that there's, because you had semifinals, or you had the Open semifinals, quarterfinals, and now the age group online qualifiers or whatever. Are you enjoying this compared to, say, other years? Didn't it used to just be Open and then age group online was the next stage, basically, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was the Open and then the top 200 qualified.
Yeah.
To the age group, and then whatever 10 or 20, depending on the year.
Yeah. And are you like, do you rather it this way? Is it like the more opportunity to be competitive, the better? Is that the outlook?
I'd love to qualify straight for the quarterfinals, obviously, because I placed quite well. So that would have been quite good. But it is like, I'm actually calmer now than what I was for the quarterfinals.
Why is that, do you think?
I think because I've gone through it and I know what it feels like. Yeah. That I have a bit of experience. So then, like, the semi-finals are like, obviously there's a lot more at stake than the quarterfinals. Well, this quarterfinals obviously was top 30, and then from now the semis it's only top 10.
Yeah.
So, but I think like you've gone through the process, you've like, you know, done all the workouts, you've done all the YouTube stuff, the introduction, all that sort of stuff.
I don't want to say stupid, but didn't you do something questionable with one of your workouts in quarterfinals? Was that you that messed something up, or you had to redo it, or was that the Open or something?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh, I thought I saw something where you did a workout and you didn't start it on time, or you didn't. Oh, I really thought that was you.
No. Thankfully.
No, it wouldn't be, would it? It wouldn't be. Oh, I must go back and find out who that was and slag them off about it. I really thought that was you. So then the plan for semi-finals is obviously just perform as well as possible, come within that top 10, and then book your, confirm your time off.
Yeah.
And how does it work then? Because, like, I suppose we mentioned sponsors and we mentioned, I suppose, how it can be difficult to garner support, I suppose, when it's not the elite competition or that you're entering, I suppose, or in a sponsor's mindset, I suppose. Like, obviously you're with Hybrid Academy, and I know I often see you drinking rain. So is that something that's on your mind at all, or are you happy to just like find a way to foot the bill yourself if you get that far?
I think, like, if I do get that far, like, the gym
when
I do, like, Neil will organize like a competition, and try and raise some funds that way and do some fundraisers.
Wow, Capital Games comeback.
Yeah. Yeah, to do something to help towards the cost, like, because obviously it's a very expensive trip.
Yeah, it is crazy expensive.
That's what everyone says, and then and that's from people who are getting some sort of sponsorship to go. And I'm hoping I might be able to push a bit more after the semi-finals and maybe work might be able to help out a bit, being an advocate for women in sport and that sort of stuff.
It can't be just all camogie. They have to branch out a bit. And I know. Longevity in the sport then. So, like, obviously, like, you mentioned that if you had started early, you might have a couple of extra years, but maybe you might burn out and whatever. Is it like, are you changing the way? Are you constantly on an upward trajectory when it comes to training? Like, is your volume always increasing? Is your capacity always increasing? Or are you coming anyway close to a point where you have to start being maybe choosy about what you do, and maybe like, oh, probably shouldn't do both those things in the same week anymore, or maybe I need to change, like, lower the intensity sometimes? And because you often hear about athletes who, like Scott Panchek is a perfect example of someone who, he was like, I can't keep doing this, and then he stopped doing it and suddenly realized that he didn't need to do all that he was doing, that he was kind of like, kind of okay. Like, are you adjusting your training in any way like that?
No, because I feel like I don't train enough for where I want to go. I'd love to be able to train more, but obviously I have bills to pay and I need a job to do that.
Is that a feeling of not training enough? Is that based off what you see other people doing, or is it based off your own progression, or is it like, impatience maybe?
Yeah, it's just when I see other people. Do you know what I mean? People who either, like even my own, they have gyms, so or they own gyms or they coaching gyms and stuff. So it's a bit easier to get the training in. But I'd love to be able to train more, but I do what I can with what I have, the time I have. But I also, this is funny, like, but I also think work helps a bit because it's such a physical job. And like, I'm looking around, like I'm pulling pallets and I'm pretending I'm doing like sled pulls, you know what I mean? And then like I'm thrown like, packing out like 20 kilo boxes of potatoes or carrots or, anything like that. So like you're sort of being kept active all day, most of the day in work. So I feel like that helps a little bit because I have such a physical job. And then
I'm imagining you like pulling out pallets and like your colleagues being like, you can jack that up. You don't have to just pull it on the ground.
I know, because it's like if you get a dodgy pallet truck and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just like, there's one pallet truck we have in the store and it's terrible. And if you get that, like, you're screwed, and like you're pulling pallets and it literally is like a sled pull, like a really heavy sled pull.
You're like, stand back. I've got this one. Yeah. I've got it.
Yeah. And you're just, your quads are on fire by the time you get it to the place it's supposed to go.
Do you think you'll always compete?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think as long as I can, I definitely will, because I love it. Like, my sisters, when we were growing up, were always like giving out to me because I always wanted to win. Do you know what I mean? I always want to be first.
Yeah.
And like, no matter what I do, like, I'm all like, oh yeah, like I'm going to win that. Do you know what I mean? Even when it's a sport I'm shy at.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like, I think I'm great.
And does it ever, like, do you ever think about, say, I spoke to Lucy McGonigal recently, and I was kind of thinking how a time comes where you age up, you know, like where it's like big fish, little pond, and then all of a sudden it's small fish, big pond, and then, you know, like, and it happens kind of more in the, I don't know, it's kind of confusing in the masters category because it kind of like it kind of happens, but obviously then the higher up the age groups you go, the older you're getting, and so like presumably the harder some stuff is becoming. Like, so you have, say, when you're in that whatever, if you're at the start of the 35 group versus the end of it, that's like what's that, like 4 years you've got on
Yeah.
your 3 and a bit years anyway, you've got on the older people in that category. And then when you move up, you're the youngest again, but then you're older than you were. You know, like it's the teenage one, it's kind of like the older you get, the stronger you get, the faster you get. And then the better the competition gets, I suppose. And then in the masters, that's kind of, it's similar, but it's kind of different as well, where like there are other, and then like, you know, you think of people who might be like retiring or, you know, and then have more free time to train. Like there's so many variables in the masters category compared to the teenage category, I think. But do you ever think of like when you're approaching the end of one age group, do you ever think like, oh fuck, like you know, I'm the old one in this category now, or oh fuck, now I'm going to be the people in the next category will have an extra few years on me?
Yeah, so for me, since I started CrossFit, I was in the 35 to 39 age group. And then when I aged up this year into the 40, I was just like, how am I 40? Like, how am I into the 40s? So, like, when I went to San Diego, and like, it was the first time I was like, 40 to 44 actually on paper. I was just like, oh, because like the, 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 the whole like 5 years I've been in CrossFit or whatever, I've always been the sort of 35 to 39, because I think the Masters from 35 just came about around the same time that I had started CrossFit. So it was always there for me. It wasn't something that I had to grow into whatever in CrossFit. So, but yeah, seeing like, but even like the girls like in the 40-year age group this year are just phenomenal. Like, I'm just looking at them. How am I competing against these women? Like, it's just crazy.
Is it good then as well? Like, because I know, like, say, after, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but after the ownership change at CrossFit, loads of people aged up and started doing masters who like had never really shared any aspirations for doing it. But like, is that good? Like, as in, do you feel it's positive? Like, say, even just on the men's side, you've got Sam Dancers going for it this year, who would have always been around with the games, kind of like either team or individual, and like Adrian Conway did it last year, and he would have always been around teams and stuff. And then like Hobart did it last year, and you know, like there's kind of people coming out of the word work who were like, they were the famous like CrossFitters, like, you know, 5 to 8 years ago. Like, is that when you see that kind of stuff happening, or even like, you know, the year Sam Briggs did it, is that like, does that like add a level of coolness to it that otherwise might not come when it's, you know, it is that, I suppose it's often been CrossFit has often been guilty of making the age group categories that sideshow, like you say.
I think it's deadly, like, because if you look at like, say, the 35 to 39 age group now, in both male and female, it's just phenomenal, like, because it's all people who have have been to the games, have been around in the sport since, a lot of them since the beginning. And I think it's brilliant, because even when I look at the leaderboard after the quarterfinals, and I'm like sitting next to Sam Briggs and Kelly Friel and Kelly Marshall and all these girls that have been to the games, and I'm like Rebecca White Miller and stuff, I'm just like, how the hell am I, like, little old me from like Biglis and Dublin, like, how am I competing against like these women who are like the top of the sport? I just find it so bizarre. It's so surreal sometimes. Like, it's just amazing to be able to compete alongside those women who are just phenomenal in the sport. Like,
yeah, I mean, you didn't lick it off the ground. Like, you have trained to get to where you are. It's not,
I
you
know.
didn't collect 5 packets of Tato and get a games ticket, or like, it's you have put in the work as well.
Yeah.
Have you thought about other things, like, say, I was thinking of, like the French Throwdown, or like even closer to home, you've got that Midsummer Games in Galway they're doing like female pairs. Like, have you thought about any of those kind of things, or are you waiting to see what happens first?
I'm sort of just waiting to see what happens this weekend. I had actually qualified for the European Championships again this year,
Okay.
but I couldn't accept the spot because it's like 2 weeks after the games.
Yeah.
So, I just I couldn't justify spending the registration money
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
hopefully not be there.
Yeah.
Just on a case. But I'm also I've signed up for the Irish Fitness Championships to do that.
Okay.
So that's at the start of July.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. Hopefully it's a training camp.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. That's
Fingers
cool.
crossed.
Um, do you ever I know we mentioned about, like, say, gymnastics, and how it would have been great if those systems that we have now were in place when you were competing. And like, do you ever think of, wouldn't it be great if the Masters semi or the age group semi final were at strength and depth and lowlands the same as the elite semi finals? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, like it would be class. It's um like everyone says to me, "Oh, when are you going?" Like loads of people always going to Lola. I was like, "No, it's like it's in the gym, it's online." Like, because at least in a live competition, there and then.
Yeah.
Whereas when you do the online competition, you have to wait for video review, and that is like the worst part. The worst part of that whole weekend doing quarterfinals was waiting for like verification from video
Yeah.
review. Now luckily I had got mine, by the Wednesday, I think it was, after. So like on that weekend, I 3 of my workouts were verified on the weekend. I think because I came like the first 2 workouts, I came second and third.
Yeah.
So I guess they have to, check them
Yeah.
pretty
Quickly
quick.
do it. Yeah.
And then after the last 2 workouts, I was waiting. Like, well, it felt like ages, but it wasn't as long as what other people had to wait. Like, 'cause like other people had to wait until the deadline day,
Yeah.
to find out. Like, right, it's like, right, well, the leaderboard is now finalized, so that is your top 30. Whereas I had known, 3 or 4 days beforehand, which was. But like, I literally was like stalking my emails, stalking my views on YouTube. I just like have to watch it again. It's like it's such a mind fuck. It's
Yeah.
just like, whereas if you're in a live competition, it's there
There
and
and
then,
then. Yeah.
if you have a no rep, it's called straight away, and you're not worrying, did I do the introduction properly? Did I
Yeah.
show the weights correctly?
You're not waiting to appear on one of Hiller's like YouTube
Yes,
videos.
that's all right. All my videos are unlisted, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't see them. But also, I have no issues
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
want to watch
Oh,
it
obviously. Obviously. Yeah.
because,
Obviously.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it would be great. I suppose it's just the numbers. Like, that's the killer, really. Like,
Mm,
yeah, it's just, there's so many categories, there's so many numbers. Like, when you add them all up, it's a lot of people
mm,
on top of what's already there, on top of, like, say, the teams. And I think Strength and Depth and like Lowlands did like a community
mm.
competition, and I'm pretty sure Strength and Depth are as well. So when you take that into account, it's like crazy numbers of people. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, hopefully further down the line though. And I think if last year's games is anything to go by, and if the people like the girls that you've mentioned and some of the on the men's side qualify and do well, it can only intensify the like spotlight that's on the age group
Mm,
categories. Because I think the teenagers are getting more famous now because of Instagram and stuff, and they're easier to find. Whereas,
yeah.
like, like when, I don't know, Justin Medeiros was doing teenagers, knowing who the fuck he was. Whereas now,
Yeah.
like, you kind of know James Sprague when he was coming up, and you knew Dallin Pepper, and you
Mm,
knew Mal O'Brien, like, you knew who these people were, and you could kind of find out about them if you wanted. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully they seem to give it a bit more focus last year, and it seemed to go down well. So you can only
yeah.
assume that this year it'll get similar, I suppose.
Yeah, because even like at Wadapalooza there, where it had the live stream for all categories.
Yeah.
That was cool because if you knew someone who was competing, you could just go in and watch them, and you weren't, just having to watch the elites or whatever like that. So
Yeah.
I thought that was class. That I think more sort of competitions are starting to do that now as well. They're like,
Yeah.
giving more time to age groups, I guess, because like whatever about us, because we're that bit older, but the teenagers are the future of the sport. Do you know what I mean?
But
So I
even
think
just from a business perspective, like who has the most disposable income?
I know.
Do you know what I mean? People whose kids are growing up or grown up, or who have their mortgage fairly cornered or whatever, or are heading towards like the upper end of the pay scale at their job. Like that's like you're talking about people over the age of 40. So like
Yeah,
that's the age group that you want to focus on, because they're the ones that are going to buy all the shit because they can. Like there's no
yeah,
point focusing on a 17-year-old who has to borrow money off their parents to buy a pair of Nobles. Like you want to focus on the age group category on the other end, is where
yeah.
that's the cash cow, because they've got everything sorted. You know what I mean? So like even just from a business perspective, it makes sense for them to focus more on it, because the more people that do it, and the more people that like, it's a lot more likely that someone in your position will be like, yeah, fuck it, I'll go to Austin and compete in that, or I'll go to wherever and compete in that competition, than a 16-year-old. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who doesn't have a job or doesn't have any income at all to save, and you know what I mean? It's just seems like a no brainer. It's always seemed like a no brainer that it's like an untapped mine that they're just like, it's fine. That's
Yeah.
kind of like, you realize that's a huge, and it's, if you go back, that's going to be people who've watched the sport from say 2012, 13 or whatever. They're now in that category, most of them. Do you know what I mean? So again, it's like, that's loyalty, longevity, and disposable income. And it's just, I don't know, it just seems bizarre that they haven't made more of a fuss about it.
I know, because I think it's, well, with the teenagers and all, they're like easier to get sponsored, and because they're young and they're hip, they're on it. Like,
Well,
it's so,
they're hip enough never to use the word hip to describe
yeah.
themselves.
What is it, like they're woke or something? Is it? I don't know what the word is.
Just move on, Amanda. Just move
on. But yeah, I'm definitely not down with the kids. Like,
yeah.
but like, I think it's easier for like someone like Lucy to get sponsorship than it is for me. Do you know what I mean? Because she's a phenomenal athlete anyway. But like the numbers she's hitting, and like the competition she's winning and stuff like that. And then when you're older, they just, it's harder, I think, to get sponsorship. Like, I was lucky with the hybrid boys and stuff like that. I met them at European Championships last year, and ever since then they've been really supportive. And then like, sort of, I became one of their sponsored athletes there a couple of months ago. So that was sort of my first, sponsorship deal, whatever. And like, all my friends and everyone in the gym was all like, it's about time, Amanda, like, you've worked your way up there, and like it's like everyone's so happy that like it's sort of going, it's starting to go in the right direction anyway. So
well, I think like most people don't get a lot out of the sport. So it's like, it's nice when you do see someone getting something out of it. Like, even no matter how small it is, it's nice to see that someone's being rewarded for work that's done in the dark, basically. But yeah, again, like, just seems like a no-brainer. Like, it just seems like it's an untapped market. Like, if you had, I don't know, like, just like Nike, who's going to be able to afford to buy loads of pairs of Metcons? Like an 18-year-old or a 42-year-old? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like and I don't know, maybe I'm out here living in 2025 and everyone else is living in 2022, or maybe someone's tried it and I'm way off the mark, and what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, and someone's tried it countless times and it doesn't work. I don't know. Well, look, we'll finish with a quick fire.
Right.
So, barbell or dumbbell?
Oh, barbell.
Bike or ski?
Which bike?
Assault bike.
Ski.
Echo bike?
I have an Echo, and it's like, it's awful. Now, in fairness though, I feel with the Echo, right, that guys hate it more than girls, because I feel like guys get so much carryover from the assault bike.
Yeah, I'd agree
And then
with
when you
that.
get on the echo bike, it like literally just stops. Whereas girls don't get as much power out of it.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad.
Yeah, I remember I did a competition in Killarney and there was an echo bike and I'd never been on one before and I never talked to anyone about what they're like. And I was just like, looks like an assault bike. Fine. And I like hopped up on it and just like, it was like 30 calories. And I just like started pedaling the same as I would an assault bike, which I only have one pace and it's like off a cliff. That's the only pace I have. And I was like pedaling and like, you know, in my head, I was like, I must be on like 19. And I looked down, I was on like 7. And I was like,
I know,
wait,
it's the
what?
worst, isn't it?
And I just stopped short of calling someone over, being like, I think there's an issue with my machine. And I remember I was like, yeah, I was like, okay, well, I've sent it. So I need to kind of keep sending it because like, what's the alternative is just stop. And I can't do that. Yeah, that was a long one. But even it was funny at Lowlands the other day. You know the way the judges always put up their hands when someone has like 5 calories left or 5 whatever left.
Yeah.
So they had the echo bike into chest to bar into overhead squats, was it? I think. All right, yeah, I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
But we watched the first heat and we watched Sam's heat, the first heat and Sam's heat, and like Sam absolutely sent it. And he was moving, like he looked like he was moving really quickly. And the judge put up his hand, and his hand was up for fucking ages. And I was like, yeah, that's what an echo bike is to me. But then Sam came up later on, and we were watching it. I was watching the next heat with him, the last heat, and the judges put their hands up, and his coach Max was like, geez, their hands are up for a long time. And I was like, that's what I was thinking in the last heat. And Sam goes, yeah, they put their hands up for 8 instead of 5. So like, because it was broken into like groups of 8, or I can't remember what way he said it anyway, but he was obviously told when he was down there. But like, we were like, oh right, we just thought everyone was really slow, like everyone was like sending it, and then the hands are going up, and then they were just like barely moving at the end, like just trickling over. Yeah, no, there's not. Yeah, there's no carryover at all. It's literally like as soon as you stop pedaling, it just goes, oh, okay, I'm done now. It almost goes backwards. Like they stop.
It's like stop.
Yeah. Row or run?
Row now. I'm shy at running, and I probably would have said run before, but I've learned how to row properly ish.
Okay.
So yeah, row.
Handstand push up or handstand walk?
Oh, handstand walk.
Thruster or burpee?
Thruster.
Yeah. Why?
I hate well, I hate them both.
Yeah, I think that everyone does, to be honest. Well, listen, thank you for coming on. It's been great to get to talk to you. I'm excited to see what you can do this weekend and beyond it. Best of luck. And yeah, it's exciting. It's great, and hopefully everything works out and you get your spot. It'd be great to punch your ticket.
Oh, that would be amazing. Thanks for having me on as well. Like, sometimes I feel like I've not really, like, why do people want to listen to my story? Like, but it's pretty cool that
well, again, I think it comes. No, it's my pleasure. I think it just comes back to, like, I spoke to someone last week and they were like, oh, I don't like telling that story though, because I think people will think I'm feeling sorry for myself. And I was like, well, like, if one person hears it and it resonates with them, and it's the same with like getting Lucy or getting you, or people who, you know, as you alluded to, are in that kind of side category that doesn't really get the focus it deserves. It's like, just because it doesn't get the focus it deserves doesn't mean it doesn't deserve any focus. And like, if there's, you know, someone who's, I don't know, working now and listening to this and thinking like, geez, I used to do gymnastics and maybe I should get back into doing something or whatever, you know, I think that's the purpose of it, really. But yeah, look, hopefully you get your chance to fly the flag and you can
keep everything crossed with your fingers, toes, legs, arms.
I need to walk and lift my kids and go to work and stuff. I won't keep everything crossed, but I'll cross intermittently. I'll sort around things.